Before we can talk about conspiracy theory, we have to talk about conspiracy theory, namely what these things called conspiracy theories actually are. And to talk about what conspiracy theories are requires that we talk about conspiracies. So, in order to get to the conspiracy theory, let's get to grips with what a conspiracy is. Welcome to Conspiracism. Everyone agrees that the minimal definition of what counts as a conspiracy is it consists of two or more people working in secret towards some end. Now, by most minimal, I simply mean this definition captures the basics of what a conspiracy is. You can add in other features, like conspiracies needing to be political in nature, or the intent of the conspirators being in some way sinister, but those are added features. The minimal set of features for something being a conspiracy can then be broken down to three conditions: the conspirators condition, the secrecy condition, and the goal condition. These are jointly necessary and sufficient for some activity to be conspiratorial. And I've just introduced some philosophical terminology that I should probably explain. When we say something is necessary, we are claiming that something has to occur or be the case for something else to follow. For example, if your house burnt down, then it was necessary that it was on fire at some point. That is, it had to be on fire in the past to be burnt down now. However, not every condition is necessary. Sometimes conditions are just sufficient. A sufficient condition is where something is a good enough reason to guarantee some other state of affairs. So for example, if you are hungry, eating cheesecake would be sufficient for making you not hungry. I mean, you could eat almost anything else, but cheesecake would suffice. So when I say our three conditions, the conspirators condition, the secrecy condition, and the goal condition, are jointly necessary and sufficient for something to be a conspiracy, then I am saying that all three conditions are necessary. You can't conspire unless all three happen to be true, but that's also all that needs to be true, because those conditions taken together are sufficient on their own for something to be a conspiracy. So with that said, let's talk about the first condition and conspirators. To conspire requires two or more people, so let me introduce you to my partner in crime. Sorry, how do you pronounce NX?
Mix.
Okay, well this is Mix H.O. Ransom. They're here to ensure this part of the video can be considered conspiratorial.
Hold on, how am I meant to address you?
Well, you can just call me Doctor.
Well, that's just pretentious and possibly infringing on the BBC's copyright.
Isn't it just? Anyway, to be a conspirator requires co-conspirators, because to conspire requires working with others. Indeed, the origin of our English word conspiracy comes from the Latin for breathe together, aka to whisper in secret with another. But whilst you have to conspire with another, it's an open question as to how big or small your group of co-conspirators has to be. It could be as big as almost everyone in the world. After all, for a conspiracy to work, you just have to keep it secret from someone, but not necessarily everyone. Your conspiracy might be a little like The Truman Show, with only one person, poor Jim Carrey, being the only person not in on it. That raises interesting questions about the viability of such plots, but that is a matter for another time. All we need to say for the moment is that the minimal number of conspirators in a conspiracy must be two. But enough about conspirators, it's time to talk secrets. That means you have to leave, Mix Ransom.
Do I have to?
Well, yes. There are things you do not need to know. Also, this green screen stuff is complicated, especially for a second episode.
Fine, but you'll be hearing from my agent.
That's me, you idiot. Talent. To paraphrase Planet of the Apes, never get a monkey to do a genderqueer's job. Part and parcel of conspiring with someone is to keep something from someone else. That is, you and your co-conspirators have to keep something about what it is you are doing secret. But just how secret? In a paper I co-wrote with Martin Orr, Secrecy and Conspiracy, we discuss what keeping your plot secret actually involves. After all, if you are keeping something secret, you have to conspire who you are keeping it secret from. Let's say I'm someone who cheats on my partner. Now, I certainly don't want them to know about that, so I'll keep that secret from them. But I might be quite open about my cheating with some of my really close friends, or even my work colleagues. Really, the only person I have to keep my affairs secret from is my partner. In the same way, a conspiracy could end up resembling the Truman Show, with only one person, Truman himself, not being in on the conspiracy. Which is to say that when you and your co-conspirators conspire, you have to keep what you are doing secret from someone, but that does not mean you have to keep it secret from everyone. Secrecy is largely about deception. We can think about deception as being either active or passive. Active deception concerns trying to make sure some particular person or set of people do not find out about something you have done or something you are up to. Passive deception concerns cases where you could get away with something if it turned out no one would think to ask or inquire about it. That is, you do not need to go out of your way to hide what it is you are doing if it turns out no one is going to ask about it. Sometimes saying nothing and not making an issue out of what it is you are doing is sufficient to get away with whatever you happen to be doing. This is a point Marty and I made in our paper. Some conspiracies might start out requiring only passive deception, only to then require active deception as it becomes clear people are getting curious. Of course, just how we cover up our conspiracies depends largely on what it is we want to gain by acting conspiratorially, which brings us nicely to the goal condition. To conspire is to want something. However, what conspirators want and what they get is not necessarily the same thing. After all, given all the work I've done for the Illuminati and the New World Order over the last 6 years, you'd think they'd give me that luxury yacht I've been asking for. But has Adrian and HR got me one? No. They just keep sending me these novelty glass skulls. The thing is, wanting something is not the same as getting it. You can work in secret towards some end, but there is no guarantee that what you want is what you will achieve. So just because a conspiracy fails, that does not make it any less conspiratorial. Conspirators must have an intended goal, but they don't have to achieve it. Here's an example, one that I somewhat overused in my PhD dissertation, the death of Julius Caesar, back in the venerable days of 44 BC, when the Roman Republic was still a thing. Caesar's death was the result of a conspiracy, one that involved Marcus Brutus, Servilius Casca, Gaius Longinus, and a whole host of other senior politicians who disliked poor old Julius. They saw Caesar, who had just made himself dictator for life, as a threat to the Roman Republic. They wanted the power in Rome to be invested in the Senate, rather than just one man. However, whilst they all worked together quite literally to stab Caesar in the back, the front and the side, Marcus Brutus appears to have had a different agenda from the rest of his co-conspirators. You see, killing Caesar turned out to be a bad idea, because he was popular with the people. In the aftermath of Caesar's assassination, the conspirators had to flee Rome, but that didn't stop them from keeping up with their correspondence. Notably, Brutus's letters to his supporters indicated he was outraged that the Roman people hadn't elected him to be Caesar's replacement. Now, did the other conspirators know what Brutus actually intended? That is, were they willing accomplices or just patsies in Brutus's self-aggrandizing plot? Sometimes, it turns out, not everyone involved will necessarily know everything about the conspiracy. Indeed, not only might some conspirators not know what other conspirators want, some people involved in the conspiracy will be patsies, people who have no idea they are involved in a conspiracy. Think of all those crime procedurals where a murder victim is found in a garbage dump. The janitorial crew who inadvertently moved the body weren't willing accomplices. The murderers simply relied on them doing their jobs to move the body for them. In the same respect, not everyone at Volkswagen knew that the company was cheating on its emissions testing. The conspirators, management and a few select engineers made sure that they and only they knew about their criminal behaviour, but they still used other staff as patsies to help cover up their cheating. Which just goes to show that not everybody knows they are aiding and abetting a conspiracy. To conspire, as we have seen, requires two or more people working in secret towards some end. But if this is the minimal definition of conspiracy, then surely conspiracies must be very common. After all, according to this definition, we conspire against our colleagues when we decide as a group not to invite someone out to drinks because none of us like them, and when your friends organise a surprise party for you, it looks like they are conspiring against you. In cases like these, people are working together in secret towards some end. I mean, surprise parties typically involve multiple people sworn to secrecy. There are the organisers of the party, who have to keep the existence of the party secret from the victim. Then there are the guests, who must also agree to keep the existence of the party secret from the target. And the organisers and the guests share the goal of surprising you with a party, and hopefully also a good time, although that is not guaranteed. Now you might think that because of examples like these, our minimal definition is too broad, and does not capture what we typically mean by conspiracy. Surely conspiracies are momentous things, more important than mere office plots or surprise parties. Shouldn't conspiracies be sinister? Aren't we meant to be interested in plots which are political in nature? Now these are all reasonable concerns, because often when we talk about conspiracies, we are interested in particular kinds of conspiracies, like political plots or corporate wrongdoing. But our interest in sinister, politically momentous conspiracies simply tells us that these are the ones we find to be the most interesting or pressing. This does not mean that the other kinds are not proper conspiracies. Indeed, if we ignore or put to one side conspiratorial activities like surprise parties or office plots, we often end up downplaying just how common conspiracies actually are. And if we downplay everyday conspiratorial activity, we make it all the harder to show that any given conspiracy theory can be warranted, although that's a problem we'll be coming back to soon. For now, we're just about ready to talk about what counts as a conspiracy theory. So this is the point in the video where I believe I am contractually obliged to say please like and subscribe. So, like and subscribe. Also ring that notification bell. And you really should visit my Patreon, because making videos is costly both in time and effort. But also because I'm going to be providing things like scripts, behind the scenes materials, and shoutouts for those people who like that kind of thing. Details in the credits and the video description. So, until next time, be seeing you. Be seeing you indeed.